identify techniques in conversing with strangers, recognize different levels of conversation, initiate a conversation with a stranger, which should involve an unrehearsed role play with someone from your group, and use open-ended questions to solicit information for further conversation. This has 3 timings. The first timing is a 4 to 5 minute speech, so could we have the lights 4, 4.5 and 5. The second is a 3 to 5 minute role play, so the lights may be at 3, 4 and 5. And lastly, a 2 to 3 minute informal discussion, so could we have the lights at 2, 2.5 and 3. Our speaker is a mother of a lovely girl and a lovely boy who wanted to leave home several weeks ago. She sometimes wishes he did. Please help me welcome our second speaker, Janine.
How many of you have been thwarted when you've had to go to an event or a party or a business function where you don't know anyone and you're forced to engage people in conversation? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. I've had this happen to me a number of times, and I'm sure that all of you have encountered the same kind of situation. It's very, very uncomfortable and unnerving in a way, and it really does make you not want to be there. You want to stand in a corner and you try and avoid making those connections. I think we've all experienced it, and my previous manager said to me once, you know, you're the quietest person here. I don't think I've ever heard you speak. Not really very good, considering I'd worked there 3 years. And that was one of the reasons I joined Toastmasters. I've never really enjoyed conversation with people. It's not that I'm not interested in what people have to say or that I don't want to make connections. I tend to be shy and a bit self-conscious, and you know, think people are going to judge me based on what I say. So I say nothing. Now this topic for me tonight is really important because it's about conversation, the most basic element of our interpersonal communication. And it's so important because it's the one thing we use on a daily basis in order to get along with people. It's the basis of all our communication. Okay. So good conversation is really important because it's used daily in a work situation. Thanks. In a work situation, you have to communicate with your co-workers. You know, if you don't express your opinions and your ideas, your boss may think you have no ideas even though you're working very hard. In business, if you're in business of sales, it's really important to make those connections too, because people buy from people they like. So if you can't make friends with people, it's very difficult to be in business. Friends and family are easier, and then strangers, again, is probably the most unnerving for most of us. And I like to equate it to playing a game of tennis in a way. You have to hit that tennis ball back and forth and get it going in a nice volley so that it's comfortable for both people. Makes for a good game of tennis. Now there are 4 elements here that make good conversation. One is a positive attitude. So you have to have that courage to go into that situation, face it, and, you know, with a good attitude, and to try to make those connections. And then consider that people are more interested in themselves and their own situation. That's always a good thing to remember. You know, ask people about themselves. That way you don't have to really say much because you get them talking. So it's a good way to break the ice. And then be a good listener, because they'll give you clues on how to move the conversation from one topic to another if you just listen to what they say. Don't have in your mind where the next thing you want to say, actually listen to what they say. And then ask open-ended questions. If you just ask a yes-no question, that's all you're going to get, yes and no. But if you ask, you know, how, what, when, why, it actually forces the person to give a more complete answer, and you're able to move the conversation on smoothly. And then there are 4 levels of communication as well. The first level is small talk. We all do that when we meet somebody for the first time, even when we meet friends, you know, it's hot today or whatever. We talk about our immediate surroundings, we talk about events of the day. Once you've done that for a little while, you feel comfortable moving on to the next level, fact disclosure. That's when you might give them a bit of information about yourself. You wouldn't normally do that to somebody you don't know, but after you converse for a while, you feel comfortable doing that. And then you come to viewpoints and opinions. So when you feel like you know and can trust the person, you feel more open in actually giving your opinions on various things like politics and religion. Not something you want to jump right into right off the bat. And then personal feelings. Speaking about problems and stresses, you know, it usually takes several conversations with somebody to get to that point. I once heard a comedian ask